I thought I knew everything about him, until I saw the messages. What I found shattered my world. Meet Emily. She and Ryan had been married for 3 years, or at least that's what she thought. Lately, Ryan started coming home late, texting secretly and acting distant. Emily ignored it at first, hoping it was just stress, but her gut told her something was wrong. Emily had always believed she and Ryan were the perfect couple. From the moment they met in college, there was a spark she had never experienced before. He was charming, funny, and attentive, everything she had ever wanted in a partner. Their friends envied them, their family adored him, and to the outside world, their life looked like a romantic movie. Yet, perfection is a fragile thing. It started subtly. Ryan's late nights at work, his distracted phone conversations, the way he would smile but not fully engage in conversation. Emily told herself it was stress, a busy schedule, the pressures of adult life. But deep down, a tiny voice kept whispering that something was off. She tried to ignore it, convincing herself she was overthinking. One Friday evening, as the golden sunset filtered through the blinds, Emily sat on the couch scrolling aimlessly on her phone. Ryan had promised he'd be home for dinner hours ago, yet the house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. She glanced at the clock, then at the empty street outside their apartment window. Her heart sank. For the first time in years, doubt crept in. The following week, the subtle changes in Ryan became impossible to ignore. Emily noticed the quick glances at his phone, the sudden tone shifts when she walked into the room, and the mysterious texts he tried to hide. She confronted herself repeatedly. Am I imagining things? She wasn't. Emily's intuition had always been sharp. The same intuition that had warned her once about a bad roommate, another time about a colleague with hidden intentions. She could not dismiss it now. Ryan had changed. It wasn't just that he was secretive, it was the way he looked at her differently. Not with malice, but with distance, like he was hiding a piece of his life she didn't know. Emily felt a creeping anxiety, a knot in her stomach that wouldn't untie itself. She started watching for patterns, the little inconsistencies in his stories. Every time he said he was working late, she found small clues that didn't add up. A receipt for a fancy restaurant he had never mentioned. A note in his jacket pocket that wasn't his handwriting. Her heart wanted to hope, but her mind whispered otherwise. He's hiding something. I just don't know what yet. It was a Sunday morning. Emily had woken early, unable to sleep, her mind restless. Ryan was still asleep beside her, his breathing steady and calm, oblivious to the storm brewing in her heart. She stared at the ceiling, her phone lying on the nightstand. Something compelled her to check his phone. She told herself, I'm not snooping, I'm just looking for the truth. As she unlocked it, a flood of messages appeared. Names she didn't recognize, casual flirty texts, emojis that made her stomach churn. At first, she couldn't process it. This can't be real, she thought. But the evidence was undeniable. Each message painted a picture she had never imagined. Ryan was cheating. Emily sank to the floor, the phone slipping from her hand. Her chest tightened, tears stinging her eyes. The world she had built with him, the perfect life she had believed in, crumbled in that single moment. But the messages weren't all. Hidden beneath casual texts were plans, dates, hotel reservations, and private gifts, all evidence of a life she had never been invited to join. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of it. How long has this been going on? She wondered. Was any of this real? For hours, Emily sat in silence, staring at the glowing screen, the sun rising higher in the sky outside the window. She felt betrayed, humiliated, and powerless. Every happy memory suddenly felt like a lie, every smile a mask Ryan had worn for her benefit. Her emotions were a storm. Anger, sadness, disbelief, and heartbreak collided inside her. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to make the world feel the weight of her pain. But instead, she cried quietly, letting the tears fall. For a moment, she questioned herself. Did I miss the signs? Was I too naive? Could I have done something differently? The answer didn't come. What she knew was that her trust had been broken in a way that could never be repaired easily. Emily had always considered herself strong, resilient. But this betrayal tested every ounce of her emotional strength. As the morning light grew, Emily wiped her tears, her hands trembling. She knew she couldn't ignore it. She couldn't pretend everything was fine anymore. The truth, as painful as it was, had to be faced. She made a decision. She would confront Ryan, but first, she needed clarity. She needed to understand the full extent of his deception. Her heart ached at the thought of confrontation, yet a small spark of determination ignited. She wasn't going to crumble silently. She was going to seek the truth, no matter how devastating it might be. Emily picked up the phone again, determined to document everything, to piece together the reality she was facing. Each message, each hidden plan, each secret meeting, it all mattered. She knew that what came next would change her life forever. And deep down, she feared it wouldn't just be heartbreak she'd discover, but something far worse. The morning after Emily discovered Ryan's messages, she felt a restless energy she couldn't shake. Every glance at him reminded her of the lies she had uncovered. Her mind replayed every interaction, every smile, every moment of intimacy, and she realized how carefully Ryan had constructed his double life. Emily decided she needed to document everything before confronting him. She printed messages, took screenshots, and wrote notes about the dates, the locations, the people involved. Each detail was another layer of reality she had to face. As she organized the information, memories of happy moments came crashing back. Their first vacation in California, the late-night drives to the beach, Ryan laughing at her silly jokes, she saw now that even these moments might have been colored by deception. Her chest tightened with a mixture of grief and disbelief. She remembered a particular evening, just weeks before, when Ryan had insisted they cook dinner together. Emily had thought it was romantic, a moment to bond. But now she wondered if it had been a distraction, a way to keep her from suspecting anything. Every emotion felt magnified. Anger, heartbreak, betrayal, confusion, all fighting for dominance in her mind. She had to confront Ryan, but she also knew she needed to do it strategically so she wouldn't be blindsided by excuses or manipulation. That evening, Ryan returned from work, smiling as if nothing had changed. Emily met him in the living room, holding the stack of messages like a shield. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. "Ryan, we need to talk," she said. He raised an eyebrow, feigning curiosity. "About what?" Emily took a deep breath. "Don't play dumb. I know about the texts. I know about her. I know about everything." Ryan froze, his smile faltering. There was a brief moment of silence, an eternity for Emily, before he tried to deflect. "Emily, I can explain." "No," she interrupted, her voice sharper now. "I don't want excuses. I want the truth." She laid the printed messages on the table, each one a dagger in their shared life. Ryan looked at them, and for the first time, Emily saw a flicker of guilt in his eyes. He began to speak, fumbling through half-truths and vague explanations. Emily listened carefully, noting every inconsistency, every hesitation. Her heart ached, but her determination didn't waver. She needed the whole story. As Ryan's story unfolded, Emily's fear intensified. The affair wasn't just emotional, it was dangerous. Ryan had lied about meetings, misled her about financial decisions, and even manipulated mutual friends to cover his tracks. Emily realized she had been living in a carefully constructed illusion, a version of reality that Ryan wanted her to believe. And worse, there were moments when his actions could have put her at risk, emotionally and financially. She felt a surge of rage and disbelief. How could someone she loved so deeply betray her in such a calculated way? Her hands shook as she gripped the table. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, to make him understand the depth of her pain. Ryan's face softened as he saw her reaction. "Emily, I didn't mean for it to get this far," he murmured, but the words rang hollow. Emily's heart pounded. She realized that confronting him wasn't just about knowing the truth, it was about choosing how to respond, how to reclaim her life from the betrayal that threatened to consume her. After the confrontation, Emily retreated to their bedroom. She sat on the floor, surrounded by the remnants of the conversation, the messages, the printed notes, her own tears. Her emotions erupted like a storm she had been holding back for weeks. She cried for the trust that had been shattered. She cried for the love that had been manipulated. She cried for the life she thought she had, only to realize it was partially an illusion. Through her tears, she reflected on her own strength. Emily had always been resilient, but this betrayal tested her limits. She realized she needed to find herself again, to reclaim her identity outside of the marriage, outside of Ryan's lies. Her phone buzzed with messages from friends checking in. She ignored them for now, needing this moment to process everything. The emotional breakdown was necessary, a way to purge the pain before moving forward. The next morning, Emily woke up feeling a strange mixture of exhaustion and clarity. She had faced the betrayal, seen the darkness, and felt the pain, but she also felt something else: determination. She decided to set boundaries. Ryan could no longer manipulate or control her. She would consult a lawyer, seek advice, and slowly rebuild her life. But first, she had to take care of herself emotionally. Emily went for a long walk through the city, breathing in the crisp morning air. She allowed herself to remember the good parts of life, the moments of joy outside of Ryan. She started jotting down goals for herself, little things that reminded her of who she was. The journey ahead would be long and painful, but Emily felt a spark of hope. She realized that the truth, no matter how painful, was the first step towards freedom and healing. And deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. The apartment felt different now. Not quieter. Not louder. Just hollow. Ryan had been sleeping in the guest room for 3 nights. 3 nights since the confrontation. 3 nights since Emily's world had split into before and after. She stood in the kitchen early Monday morning, staring at her coffee as if it might offer answers. Her reflection in the microwave door looked unfamiliar, tired eyes, swollen from crying, but something else too. Clarity. Pain had a way of sharpening truth. Ryan walked in, cautious, like a stranger entering someone else's home. "Morning," he said softly. Emily didn't look at him. "Morning." There was no warmth in her voice. No anger either. Just distance. That scared him more than shouting ever could. "Have you thought about what we talked about?" he asked carefully. Emily finally turned toward him. "Yes," she said. "I have." Her calmness unsettled him. "I've been thinking about how easy it was for you to lie. How natural it became." "That's not a mistake, Ryan. That's a pattern." He swallowed. "It didn't mean anything," he said weakly. Emily almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. "It meant enough for you to risk our marriage." Silence filled the room. And for the first time, Emily realized something powerful. She wasn't begging. She wasn't breaking. She was observing. And Ryan could feel it. 2 days later, Emily sat across from a divorce attorney in downtown Chicago. The office smelled like leather and expensive coffee. Large windows overlooked the city skyline, a reminder that life outside her pain was still moving forward. The lawyer, Ms. Carter, spoke in a calm, professional tone. "Infidelity complicates things," she said. "Especially if there are financial secrets involved." Emily nodded slowly. "There were hidden transactions," she explained. "Hotel bookings. Gifts. Money I didn't know about." Ms. Carter's expression hardened slightly. "That gives you leverage." Leverage. The word felt strange in her mouth. She had never imagined her marriage turning into a negotiation. "Do you want reconciliation?" the lawyer asked gently, "or protection?" Emily hesitated. Images flooded her mind. Ryan laughing in their kitchen. Ryan lying effortlessly. Ryan holding another woman. Protection. "I want security," she said finally. "For myself." And when she said it, something shifted inside her. This wasn't about revenge. This was about dignity. Emily hadn't planned to meet her. But fate had other ideas. One afternoon, while walking out of a bookstore, she saw her. The woman from the messages. Tall. Confident. Laughing into her phone. Emily's heart raced, not from jealousy, but from adrenaline. This was the person who had shared secrets with her husband. The one who knew intimate details of a life Emily thought was hers. For a moment, Emily considered walking away. But instead, she walked toward her. "Hi," Emily said evenly. The woman looked up confused. "Yes, my name is Emily." Recognition flashed across her face. Oh, there it was. The guilt. The discomfort. "I didn't know he was still married," the woman said quickly. "He told me you were separated." Emily felt a strange calm wash over her. "Another lie." "He's very good at rewriting reality," Emily replied. There was no screaming. No dramatic scene. Just two women standing on a sidewalk, both realizing they had been manipulated in different ways. "I'm sorry," the woman said quietly. Emily studied her. For the first time, she didn't see competition. She saw another victim of Ryan's deception. And that realization freed her from comparison. She walked away lighter than she had felt in weeks. That night, Ryan tried again. "I can fix this," he insisted. "We can go to therapy. I'll end everything. I'll change." Emily looked at him carefully. "Change isn't something you promise when you're caught," she said. "It's something you live before you're exposed." He flinched. "I made a mistake." Emily's eyes filled, not with tears this time, but with certainty. "No," she said softly. "You made choices." That distinction mattered. Mistakes are accidents. Choices are decisions. And Ryan had chosen repeatedly. She took off her wedding ring slowly and placed it on the kitchen counter between them. The sound of metal touching marble echoed louder than it should have. "I deserve honesty," she said. "And I deserve peace." Ryan's voice cracked. "Emily, please." But she was already walking away. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just decisively. Weeks passed. The apartment no longer felt hollow. It felt like hers. Emily rearranged the furniture. Donated old things. Changed the bedroom paint color from soft gray to warm ivory. Small changes. But symbolic ones. She started therapy. Started running in the mornings. Started reconnecting with friends she had unintentionally neglected. One evening, sitting alone on her balcony, she watched the city lights flicker alive. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "I miss you. I miss us." She stared at the message. Then she typed, "I miss who I thought you were. But I don't miss the lies." She hit send. And for the first time since discovering the truth, she didn't feel pain. She felt power. Not the loud, dramatic kind. The quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing you survived something that tried to break you. Emily leaned back in her chair, breathing in cool night air. He cheated. Yes, but the truth had been worse than she imagined. Because the real betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was the illusion. And now? She was finally free from it. The day Ryan moved out, it rained. Not dramatically. Not like in the movies. Just a steady, gray drizzle that matched the heaviness in the air. Emily stood near the window as movers carried boxes down the hallway. Each box felt symbolic, pieces of a life being dismantled. Ryan paused near the door. "Is this really it?" he asked quietly. Emily didn't turn around immediately. She watched the rain slide down the glass. "Yes," she said softly. "This is it." He stepped closer. "I never thought we'd end like this." Emily finally faced him. "Neither did I." There was no yelling. No hatred. Just finality. Ryan searched her face for hesitation. For weakness. For hope. He didn't find any. When the door closed behind him, Emily exhaled, not in sorrow, but in release. The silence this time didn't feel hollow. It felt peaceful. Secrets don't stay buried forever. Within weeks, mutual friends began asking questions. Rumors surfaced about Ryan's affair, about hidden finances, about inconsistencies in his story. One evening at a small dinner gathering, someone finally said it out loud. "Did he really tell people you were separated?" Emily nodded calmly. "Yes. He rewrote our marriage before he ended it." The room fell quiet. What surprised Emily wasn't the pity in their eyes. It was the support. "I had no idea," one friend said. "He made it sound like you two just grew apart." Emily smiled faintly. That was easier than admitting he cheated. As the truth circulated, Ryan's carefully curated image began to crack. People started questioning him, pulling away, doubting. And for the first time, Emily realized something powerful. She didn't need revenge. The truth was doing the work on its own. Ryan called one night, his voice different. Defeated. "They're investigating me at work," he admitted. Emily stayed silent. There were financial reports tied to personal expenses, the hotel bookings, the hidden payments, the lies. "They think I misused company funds." Emily closed her eyes. "Did you?" she asked calmly. A long pause. "Yes." The confession hung heavy in the air. Ryan had risked not only their marriage, but his career. "I didn't think it would spiral like this," he whispered. Emily felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction. Not sympathy. Clarity. "Choices have consequences," she said gently. And for the first time, Ryan had no defense. Weeks later, Emily received a message from someone she hadn't expected. Ryan's sister, Olivia. "Can we talk?" They met at a quiet cafe. Olivia looked uncomfortable. "There's something you should know," she said carefully. Emily's heart tightened. It wasn't just one affair. The words hit harder than she expected. "There were others," Olivia continued. "Before this. Years ago." Emily's mind raced. All those business trips. All those unexplained absences. "He's done this before," Olivia said quietly. "And our family covered for him." Emily felt the final illusion shatter. This wasn't a sudden mistake. This was a pattern. A history. A carefully protected secret. And suddenly, Emily understood something that freed her completely. This was never about her not being enough. This was about him never being honest. Months passed. Ryan lost his job. His reputation dimmed. His social circle shrank. But Emily? Emily grew. She accepted a promotion at work. Started speaking openly in therapy about emotional manipulation. Even began mentoring women navigating betrayal and divorce. One evening, standing in front of a small support group, she shared her story. "I thought the worst thing that could happen was being cheated on," she said softly. "But the worst part wasn't the betrayal." She paused. "It was believing the illusion." The room was silent. "I had to lose him to find myself." And she meant it. Later that night, walking through downtown Chicago, city lights glowing around her, Emily felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not just strength. Peace. Ryan had cheated. Yes, but the truth had been worse than she imagined. Because the truth revealed who he really was. And it revealed who she really was too. Stronger. Wiser. Unbreakable. She looked up at the skyline and smiled. This wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of a better one. It had been almost a year. Divorce papers were signed. Accounts separated. Last shared items exchanged in awkward silence months ago. Emily stood in her new apartment, smaller, brighter, completely hers. There were no memories in the walls. No ghosts in the kitchen. No echoes of arguments. Just space. She had learned something unexpected about heartbreak. It doesn't just break you. It reveals you. At first, the loneliness had felt sharp. Nights were the hardest. The bed too wide. The silence too loud. But slowly, loneliness transformed into independence. One evening, while organizing old documents, she found a photo from their first anniversary. They were smiling. Happy. Or at least appearing to be. She studied her younger self in the picture. "I didn't know yet," she whispered softly. Didn't know about the lies. Didn't know about the hidden pattern. Didn't know how strong she would become. She placed the photo in a box labeled lessons. Not memories. Not regret. Lessons. 3 months later, Emily received an email that would change everything. Her company was expanding, and they needed someone to lead a new branch in Seattle. Higher salary. Bigger role. Fresh start. Her manager had written one line that stayed with her. "You've shown incredible resilience this year." Resilience. The word felt earned. That night, she stood on her balcony overlooking Chicago's skyline one last time. This city had witnessed her heartbreak. But it had also witnessed her rise. She accepted the offer. Moving wasn't about escaping the past. It was about choosing the future. Seattle felt different. Calmer. Softer. Rainy mornings. Coffee shops filled with quiet ambition. New routines. And then one afternoon, she met him. Not dramatically. Not in a whirlwind romance. Just naturally. His name was Daniel. They met during a leadership conference. He was thoughtful, grounded, and most importantly, transparent. No secretive phone flips. No unexplained absences. No emotional distance. On their third date, Emily did something she hadn't done before. She told the truth. "I was married," she said. He cheated. More than once. Daniel didn't flinch. "I'm sorry that happened to you," he said gently. "But I'm glad you walked away." That sentence meant more than any grand romantic gesture. He didn't try to rescue her. He didn't compete with her past. He respected her strength. For the first time, love didn't feel like anxiety. It felt like safety. 2 years after the divorce, Emily returned to Chicago for a business event. And fate, once again, had a sense of timing. She saw Ryan across a hotel lobby. He looked older, tired, smaller somehow. Their eyes met. He approached slowly. "Emily," he said quietly. She smiled politely. "How are you?" he asked. "Good," she replied truthfully. There was an awkward pause before he spoke again. "I lost everything," he admitted. "My job, the apartment, most friends." She listened calmly. "I thought what I wanted was freedom," he said. "Turns out, I just wanted attention." Emily didn't feel anger anymore. Only distance. "I hope you've learned something," she said gently. He nodded. "I should have chosen you." She tilted her head slightly. "No," she replied. "You should have chosen integrity." The words weren't cruel. They were factual. And for the first time in years, she realized she felt nothing romantic toward him. No longing. No regret. No pain. Just closure. Back in Seattle, life continued peacefully. Daniel proposed on a quiet hiking trail overlooking the mountains. Not flashy. Not dramatic. Just sincere. And when she said yes, it wasn't because she needed love. It was because she wanted it. Their wedding was small, intimate. And during her vows, she said something that surprised even herself. "I promise to never shrink myself to make someone else comfortable." That line wasn't about Daniel. It was about who she used to be. Years later, sitting in their home filled with warmth and laughter, Emily reflected on everything. Ryan cheating had felt like the worst thing that could happen. But it wasn't. The worst thing would have been staying. Staying blind. Staying small. Staying silent. Instead, she chose herself. And that choice changed everything. She looked at Daniel across the room, then at the life they had built. Healthy love. Honest conversations. Mutual respect. She smiled softly. He cheated. Yes. But the truth had been worse than she imagined. Because the truth showed her who he really was. And, more importantly, it showed her who she really was. Strong enough to leave. Brave enough to start over. Wise enough to choose better. And that was the greatest plot twist of all.